An 8-decade-long study has revealed unexpected discoveries about how to live longer. And it turns out that finding a dream job without stress is not the way to live longer. The study concludes that those who persevere despite high levels of stress and responsibility, they're the ones who ended up living the longest. Now, if that study proves correct, my next guest can expect to live a long and happy life because he throws booze around all day. It's physical, it's demanding, and he joins us now from Minneapolis for today's edition of I Want Your Job. He's a competitive bartender. Brian Zacco, he is currently TGI Friday's World Bartender Champion. Brian Zacco, welcome to Bloomberg. And before I ask you your favorite drink or how you got to do this, you are trying to get bartending elevated to Olympic status. Why?
Well, I think bartending has come a long way, with flair bartending and mixology in general. And what better way to represent bartenders and to showcase our talents than in the Olympics?
How did you get started in this? I mean, it's one thing mixing a drink, but, the twirling, the catching, the turning, the swiveling. How did you end up getting involved?
Well, I started waiting tables going to college, and I think my sophomore year, they asked me to become a bartender at TGI Fridays, and a week into my training, I entered my first competition and absolutely fell in love with it, and I was hooked from there.
Now, in entering this competition, did you have to make drinks that you never heard of before, or were you able to study up on it?
Well, we get a book that we get to study on, but there are drinks that I've made that I've never made in real life. And that's one of the fun parts of the competition, that they not only test us in speed and accuracy and the flair, it's also the knowledge of being a good bartender.
Can you tell us what the most difficult drink is to make?
Well, that's a tough one.
How about the most difficult drink to make and make it actually taste good?
Well, there's one called a Baltimore Zoo that's topped with draft beer, and I've never made one in real life, but I had to make it in competition one time. And, things you've never made in real life, it's tough to make it taste good,
What goes into a Baltimore Zoo?
Throwing me on the spot here. It's gin, rum, triple sec, there's cranberry, and it's topped with draft beer.
Wow. And do you find that there is a trend in the kind of drinks that people want when they find out that you're this champion mixologist? I mean, do they ask you to make complicated drinks?
Oh, yeah, I get that, too. People usually ask me to make my favorite drink, so I get to kind of set the tone with that. I think people more want me to perform for them, so that's what I get asked more often, is, show me your newest trick, or what tricks are you working on? Or routines that I've done in competition. That's probably what I get asked more often.
What can you tell us? What are some of your most recent tricks or some of your innovative moves?
Yeah, I guess it's tough to talk about, but as flair bartending, it's more and more complicated. There's more and more objects involved. So, 10 years ago, people were probably doing, 1, 2 object moves, and all of the years have progressed. It's 3, 4, 5, 6 object moves that become more complicated, and more objects are being used in routines. So there's a lot more variety and a lot more difficulty in routines these days.
Brian, do you train every day?
I used to. I'm slacking off a little bit now that I'm the champion. But yeah, before competitions, I would probably put in 20 to 30 hours a week outside of my job to get ready for competition.
6-time champion, correct?
Yeah, I'm the TGI Fridays 6-time U.S. champion, and this past year, I finally got the grand title and got the World Bartender Champion. I was a second-place finisher multiple times, and
all right.
It was really tough to get over the hump, but I finally did it, so I'm real proud to be able to say that.
World Bartending Champion. I want your job. All right, coming up, should you watch what you say almost anywhere? We'll tell you next.